Left at the altar, Nathaniel Ward walks out of his perfect wedding into a church echoing with silence, where a maid named Janelle is already sweeping up the wreckage. What begins in heartbreak just might end in forever. Before we get into the story, comment below. Where in the world you are watching from today? The cathedral was packed with guests in their finest clothes. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns on the floor. White lilies decorated every corner, filling the air with their sweet scent. A string quartet played soft music that echoed throughout the sacred space. Nathaniel Ward stood at the altar, his hands trembling slightly. At 40, he was finally getting married to his childhood sweetheart, Victoria. He had spent his life building his business and becoming one of the most successful men in the city. Now he was about to complete his perfect life with the perfect wife. "You okay?" whispered his best man, adjusting his own tie. "Never better," Nathaniel replied, though his stomach was in knots. 300 guests had flown in from across the country and even from overseas. Business partners, family friends, and society's elite filled the pews. This was meant to be the wedding of the year. The music changed, signaling the bride's arrival. Nathaniel straightened his shoulders and took a deep breath. This was the moment he had been waiting for, but the doors remained closed. Minutes passed. Whispers began to ripple through the crowd. Nathaniel's smile became strained. The wedding planner rushed down the aisle and disappeared through a side door. 10 more minutes went by. The string quartet played the same piece twice, unsure what to do. Then the wedding planner returned, her face pale. She approached Nathaniel and handed him a small cream-colored envelope. With shaking fingers, he opened it. Inside was a note in Victoria's handwriting. "I love you, but I love freedom more. I'm sorry. The world seemed to stop." Nathaniel felt as if all the air had been sucked from his lungs. 300 pairs of eyes stared at him, waiting. He didn't yell. He didn't cry. He simply folded the note, placed it in his pocket, and walked straight down the aisle and out of the church without a word. Behind him, chaos erupted. Guests began speaking in shocked voices. Some rushed after him while others just sat there, stunned by what had happened. Janelle Hart arrived at the church 2 hours earlier than scheduled. The 36-year-old part-time maid was supposed to help with cleanup after the reception, but something told her to come early. "What's going on?" she asked another worker as she watched people flooding out of the cathedral. "The bride didn't show up," the man replied. "Left the groom at the altar, can you believe it?" Janelle shook her head. She had cleaned houses for enough wealthy people to know that money didn't buy happiness, but still, she felt bad for the man she had never met. Instead of waiting, she decided to get started. She entered the church through a side door and found the once beautiful setting now abandoned. Flower petals scattered across the floor, programs left on seats, and a sense of interrupted joy hung in the air. Quietly, Janelle began to clean. She picked up the fallen petals, straightened the abandoned programs, and wiped down the surfaces. The work was familiar and calming. As a nursing student, she was used to cleaning up messes, both physical and emotional. Hours passed as she worked, her way from the back of the church to the front. Most of the staff had gone home, not knowing what to do with a reception that would never happen. As she approached the altar with her silver tray to collect the unused unity candles, Janelle froze. There, sitting alone at the edge of the altar steps, was a man in a tuxedo. His head was bowed and he sat so still he might have been a statue. Janelle considered leaving him alone. His grief was private, not meant for strangers to witness, but something about his stillness troubled her. She continued her work, moving as quietly as possible. Then she dropped her tray. It hit the marble floor with a loud clatter that echoed through the empty cathedral. "I'm sorry, sir," she said automatically, bending to pick it up. The man lifted his head slowly, as if waking from a deep sleep. His eyes were dry but vacant. "You didn't do anything wrong," he said. The first words he'd spoken in hours, their eyes. Met for a brief moment, and Janelle felt an unexpected connection. Not attraction, not pity, but something deeper. Recognition of another human being in pain. "Can I get you some water?" she asked. He shook his head. "Thank you, but no." Janelle nodded and continued her work, giving him space. After a while, he stood up. "What's your name?" he asked. "Janelle Hart." "Thank you, Janelle Hart," he said, "for not asking if I'm okay." Then he walked away, his expensive shoes echoing on the marble floor. The next Sunday, Janelle was surprised to see him at the church service. She worked part-time at the cathedral, helping with weekend services and events. The man, who she now knew from the staff gossip was Nathaniel Ward, sat in the back row wearing a simple suit instead of his wedding tuxedo. He didn't speak to anyone, and no one approached him. The whispers followed him, though. Everyone knew his story by now. After the service, Janelle was cleaning the pews when she noticed he hadn't left. He sat in the same spot, staring at the altar. "The flowers are different today," he said without. Looking at her, Janelle paused in her work. "Yes, they change them every week. I like these better. Simple." Janelle nodded, continuing to collect abandoned bulletins. "Daisies. They're my favorite too." "Why?" he asked. The question caught her off guard. No one usually asked her opinion on anything. "They're honest," she replied after a moment. "They don't pretend to be fancy or complicated. They're just cheerful." A ghost of a smile appeared on his face. "I never thought of flowers as honest or dishonest before." "Everything has a nature," Janelle said. "Even flowers." He considered this, then stood up. "I'm Nathaniel Ward." "I know," she said simply. "Of course you do. Everyone knows now." His voice had a bitter edge. "I would have known anyway. I was scheduled to clean up after your reception." He looked at her then, really looked at her, as if seeing her clearly for the first time. "You were there that day?" "Yes. And you didn't run away from the mess." Janelle smiled slightly. "Running away from messes isn't in my job description." For the first time since his wedding day, Nathaniel let out a small laugh. It was brief and rusty, but real. "Thank you for that," he said. Over the next few weeks, Nathaniel came to the church more and more often, not just for Sunday services, but for evening prayers, community meetings, and volunteer events. Each time, he'd find a way to speak with Janelle, even if just for a moment. One evening, he found her organizing hymnals. "Let me help," he said, picking up a stack. "You don't have to do that, Mr. Ward." "Nathaniel," he corrected, "and I want to." They worked in comfortable silence for a while. "I heard you're a nursing student," he said eventually. Janelle nodded. "Part-time. I take night classes 3 times a week." "That's impressive," she shrugged. "Just trying to build a better life." "What made you choose nursing?" No one had asked her that in a long time. "My mother was sick when I was young. The nurses who took care of her showed me what compassion in action looks like." Nathaniel stopped shelving and looked at her. "Did she recover?" "No," Janelle said softly. "But those nurses made her final years dignified. I want to do that for others." Nathaniel nodded, understanding in his eyes. "I'm sorry about your mother. It was a long time ago," she said. After they finished with the hymnals, Nathaniel hesitated. "Would you like a ride home? It's getting dark." Janelle's first instinct was to say no. She didn't need charity, and she didn't want to be another society woman's gossip topic. But the genuine concern in his eyes stopped her. "Thank you," she said. "That would be nice." The drive to her small apartment was quiet at first. Nathaniel's car was expensive but not flashy. Like him, it had an understated elegance. "Do you always work this late?" he asked. "Usually. Between my cleaning jobs and classes, late nights are normal for me." "That must be difficult," Janelle smiled. "Life is difficult for everyone in different ways." He glanced at her. "That's a generous way of looking at it." When they reached her apartment building, he insisted on walking her to the door. "Thank you for the ride," she said. "Thank you for the conversation," he replied. "I've had too few honest ones lately." The next week, when Janelle arrived at the church for her evening shift, she found a thermos sitting on her cleaning cart with a note. "Thought you might need this during your long night." And inside was hot tea, still warm. She couldn't help but smile. That small gesture was the beginning. Nathaniel started bringing her tea regularly. Sometimes he would stay and help her clean. Other times he would drive her home after her shift. He never pushed for more, never assumed anything. He just showed up. For Janelle, who had spent her life being invisible to people like Nathaniel Ward, His attention was both flattering and concerning. She had seen too many women get hurt by wealthy men who saw them as temporary distractions. One night, after he helped her restock the church's food pantry, she decided to be direct. "Why are you spending so much time here, Nathaniel?" He paused, a can of beans in his hand. "Would you believe me if I said I find peace here, in a food pantry, in doing something useful, in talking to someone real?" He put the can on the shelf. "When Victoria left me at the altar, I realized my whole life was built on appearances. The right house, the right career, the right fiancé. None of it was about what I actually wanted." "And what do you want?" Janelle asked. "I'm still figuring that out," he said honestly. "But I know I want more moments that feel true, like when you told me daisies are honest flowers." Janelle felt her cheeks warm. "I say strange things sometimes." "No," he said. "You say real things. That's different." Their eyes met, and something shifted between them. Not romance, not yet, but possibility. As they finished stocking the shelves, Nathaniel asked, "Would you like to get coffee sometime?" "Not here at the church." Janelle hesitated. "Nathaniel, I'm not looking to be someone's rebound." "Neither am I," he said. "I just want to talk more. With you. About honest flowers and whatever else comes to mind." Despite her better judgment, Janelle found herself smiling. "Okay, coffee." As they left the food pantry, both felt something new beginning. Not the flashy, picture-perfect romance of society pages, but something quieter and more real. Something that started in the ruins of one story and might, just might, build into another. Their first coffee date was at a small shop 3 blocks from the church. It wasn't fancy, with its mismatched chairs and chipped mugs, but it felt right. Janelle arrived in simple jeans and a blue sweater, her hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. "I wasn't sure you'd come," Nathaniel said, standing when she approached his table. "I keep my promises," Janelle replied, sliding into the seat across from him. They ordered plain black coffee for him, chai tea for her, and fell into an awkward silence. Outside of the church, without tasks to occupy their hands, they were just 2 people from different worlds. "So," Nathaniel finally said, "tell me about nursing school." Janelle's face lit up. "We're studying pediatric care this semester. It's challenging but rewarding. You enjoy working with children? They're the best patients, honest about pain, quick to forgive, and they believe in magic even in hospital rooms." Nathaniel smiled. "My mother was a teacher. She always said, 'Children, see the world as it should be, not as it is.' Your mother sounds wise." She was. His eyes grew distant. "She passed away 5 years ago. Cancer." Janelle reached across the table and briefly touched his hand. "I'm sorry." That simple touch, warm and genuine, broke through something in Nathaniel. Words began to flow. He told her about growing up as the son of a teacher and a bookstore owner, about his father's early death, about how he'd built his real estate development company from nothing. "Victoria and I grew up on the same street," he explained. "When I became successful, we reconnected at a charity event. It seemed convenient, like the perfect ending to a story everyone expected." "But not the story you wanted?" Janelle asked. Nathaniel looked into his coffee. "I thought it was. Now I'm not sure I knew what I wanted at all." "What about now?" He looked up at her. "Now I'm trying to figure that out. What about you? What's your story?" Janelle rarely talked about herself, but something about Nathaniel's earnest interest made her open up. She told him about growing up with a single mother who worked 3 jobs, about taking care of her during her illness, about juggling multiple jobs to pay for nursing school. "You've overcome a lot," Nathaniel said with genuine admiration. Janelle shrugged. "Just did what needed doing." They talked for hours until the shop owner started stacking chairs around them. Neither wanted the evening to end. "Can I drive you home?" Nathaniel asked as they stepped outside. "I can take the bus," Janelle said automatically. "I know you can, but I'd like to drive you." The night was cool, and Janelle was tired. "Okay." In the car, a comfortable silence settled between them. When they arrived at her apartment building, Nathaniel walked her to the door again. "Thank you for tonight," he said. "I haven't talked like that I can't remember when." "It was nice," Janelle admitted. "Different." Could we do it again? There were a dozen reasons to say no. He was on the rebound. They came from different worlds. People would talk. But looking into his eyes, Janelle found herself nodding. I'd like that. 2 days later, Nathaniel surprised Janelle at the church with a brown paper bag. Dinner, he explained. I remembered you said Tuesdays are your long days with back-to-back shifts. Inside the bag, Janelle found homemade sandwiches, fruit, and cookies. You made this? She asked, surprised. Don't sound so shocked, he laughed. I do know how to use a kitchen. They ate together in the church courtyard, talking about their days. It became a routine. Tuesdays were dinner days. Sometimes he brought food. Other times she did. They shared simple meals and complicated stories. One evening, as they sat on a bench watching the sunset, Nathaniel asked, "Why haven't you ever married?" Janelle was quiet for a moment. Never found the right time, I guess. Or the right person. That's not the whole story, Nathaniel said gently. She sighed. No, it's not. The truth is, I've always been the person people lean on when they're broken. Once they're fixed, they move on to someone who fits their new life better. That's their loss, Nathaniel said, his voice firm. Janelle looked at him. What about you? Why Victoria? Really? It was Nathaniel's turn to be uncomfortable. She was familiar, safe. And she fit the image of success I thought I needed to project. The truth is, our relationship was more for show than substance. Then maybe her leaving was a gift. It didn't feel like one at the time, Nathaniel admitted. But now, he looked at Janelle, his eyes warm. Now I'm not so sure. 3 weeks later, Janelle's goddaughter Lisa went into labor early. The baby shower had been planned for the following weekend, but now there would be an actual baby instead. I don't have a crib yet, Lisa fretted over the phone from her hospital bed, or a changing table or anything. Don't worry, Janelle assured her. Focus on having that baby. I'll take care of the rest. After hanging up, Janelle sat at her kitchen table, calculating her savings. She could afford a basic crib if she worked extra shifts this month. A knock at her door interrupted her calculations. It was Nathaniel holding a bag of takeout food. I thought you might be hungry after your exam today, he said. Janelle's worry must have shown on her face because he immediately asked, What's wrong? She explained about Lisa and the baby coming early. I need to find a crib, but the good second-hand ones get snatched up so fast. I can help, Nathaniel offered. That's sweet, but not with money, he clarified, understanding her pride. I'm actually pretty good with woodworking. My father taught me. I could build a crib. You can build furniture? Janelle couldn't hide her surprise. Nathaniel smiled. There's a lot you still don't know about me, Janelle Hart. The next day, Nathaniel showed up at her apartment with lumber, tools, and detailed sketches. For the next 3 days, he worked in her small living room, transforming wood into a beautiful crib. Janelle was amazed watching him work. His hands, which she had only seen holding coffee cups or helping with church tasks, were skilled and confident with tools. He explained each step as he worked, his face lit with a joy she hadn't seen before. This is what you love, she realized out loud on the 3rd day. Nathaniel looked up from sanding a rail. What do you mean? Building things, creating. This is what makes you happy, not those big real estate deals. He was quiet for a moment. My father's bookstore had a workshop in the back. He'd repair old furniture or build custom bookshelves for customers. Some of my best memories are in that workshop with him. Why didn't you follow that path? Nathaniel set down his sandpaper. Because building furniture doesn't make you a success. In everyone else's eyes. Developing high-rise apartments does. But whose eyes matter more? Janelle asked softly. The question hung between them, unanswered but important. When the crib was finished, they delivered it to Lisa's apartment together. Lisa, home from the hospital with her newborn son, was overwhelmed. This is too much, she said, running her hand over the smooth wood. It's not enough, Janelle replied, hugging her friend gently. Nathaniel stood back, watching Janelle with the new mother and baby. Something shifted in his heart as he saw her gentle strength, her quiet love. Here was a woman who gave without expectation of return, who found joy in others' happiness. The drive back to Janelle's apartment, Nathaniel was unusually quiet. Everything okay? She asked. Just thinking about what you said, about whose eyes matter. He parked in front of her building but didn't turn off the engine. I need to show you something. Are you free tomorrow? Saturday morning I have class, but I'm free afternoon. I'll pick you up at 1. The next day Nathaniel drove Janelle to a part of town she rarely visited. Old brick buildings lined quiet streets with small shops and cafes at street level. He parked in front of a storefront with papered-over windows. A faded sign read, Ward's Books and Treasures. Your family's store? Janelle asked. Nathaniel nodded, a mix of emotions on his face. I've owned the building since my mother died, but I've kept it closed. I couldn't bear to sell it, but I didn't know what to do with it either. He unlocked the door and led her inside. Dust motes danced in the sunlight that streamed through the spots where the paper had worn away from the windows. Empty bookshelves lined the walls and a sales counter stood at the back. It's been empty all this time? Janelle asked, her voice echoing slightly in the space. Yes, but now I know what I want to do with it. Excitement crept into Nathaniel's voice. I want to reopen it. Not just as a bookstore, but as a free reading room for the neighborhood. A place where kids can come after school, where people without means can access books and computers. Janelle turned in a circle, trying to imagine it. That sounds wonderful. And back here. Nathaniel led her through a door behind the counter, into a large back room filled with old woodworking equipment. This was my father's workshop. I want to restore it, offer woodworking classes for kids, maybe even build custom pieces again. His enthusiasm was contagious. Janelle found herself smiling widely as he showed her around, describing his vision. With animated gestures. What do you think? He finally asked, suddenly looking uncertain. Is it a ridiculous idea? Walking away from real estate development to run a bookstore and build furniture? I think it's the least ridiculous idea I've ever heard, Janelle said honestly. It sounds like you. The real me, Nathaniel agreed. Not the me I've been pretending to be. He took her hands in his. And I have you to thank for that, for seeing me even when I couldn't see myself. The moment hung between them, full of possibility. Janelle felt her heart beating faster as Nathaniel slowly leaned toward her. Then his phone rang. The spell broken, Nathaniel stepped back and checked the caller ID. His expression darkened. It's Victoria, he said. Janelle felt as if cold water had been poured over her. Of course, the beautiful ex-fiancée was back, probably realized what she had given up. You should take it, she said, moving toward the door to give him privacy. Janelle, wait. But she was already walking back through the store, needing air, needing space. She knew better than to fall for a man still tied to someone else. What had she been thinking? Outside, the bright sunshine seemed to mock her. She began walking, not sure where she was going, but needing to move. Behind her, she heard the store door open. Janelle, Nathaniel called. Please wait. She stopped but didn't turn around. He caught up to her, slightly out of breath. I didn't answer. It's none of my business who you talk to, Janelle said, still not looking at him. Yes, it is. Nathaniel gently turned her to face him. Because you're important to me. More important than any call from the past. Nathaniel, I can't be your rebound. I won't be the bridge between your old life and whatever comes next. You're not a bridge, he said firmly. You're the destination. Before she could respond, he leaned down and kissed her. It was gentle, almost hesitant, a question more than a declaration. Janelle stood frozen for a moment, then slowly kissed him back. When they parted, Nathaniel rested his forehead against hers. I'm not looking back, Janelle, only forward. With you if you'll have me. This is crazy, she whispered. We barely know each other. I know enough, he said. I know you're kind when no one's watching. I know you work harder than anyone I've ever met. I know you love daisies and chai tea and helping others, and I know I haven't felt this alive in years. Janelle wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this wasn't just his reaction to being left, that it was real and lasting, but she had been disappointed too many times before. I need time, she said honestly. This is all happening so fast. Nathaniel nodded, taking a step back. I understand, and I'll wait. However long you need. They walked back to his car in silence, both lost in thought. As they drove back to her apartment, Janelle watched Nathaniel's profile. He was different from the man she'd met in the empty church months ago. There was a lightness to him now, a genuineness that hadn't been there before. Maybe, just maybe, this time could be different. At her door, Nathaniel didn't try to kiss her again. Instead, he squeezed her hand gently. No pressure. Just know that I'm not going anywhere. Janelle watched him drive away, her emotions a tangled mess. Her heart told her to trust him, to take a chance. But her head reminded her of all the times she'd been left behind. As she entered her apartment, her phone buzzed with a text. It was from Nathaniel. Thank you for today, for showing me what matters, for being real in a world of pretend. Despite her doubts, Janelle smiled. Whatever happened next, something true had begun between them. Something neither had expected to find in the aftermath of abandoned vows and wilted flowers. Over the next few weeks, Nathaniel gave Janelle the space she asked for, but he remained, present in her life. Their Tuesday dinners continued. He still drove her home after late shifts, but he didn't pressure her for more. Instead, he focused on transforming the bookstore. Each time they met, he shared updates about the renovation. The new paint, the restored bookshelves, the workshop equipment he'd repaired. His excitement was contagious. I'm hiring contractors for the major work, but I'm doing a lot of it myself, he told her one evening as they shared sandwiches in the church courtyard. When do you sleep? Janelle asked, noticing the dark circles under his eyes. Nathaniel shrugged. Sleep's overrated when you're building a dream. One Saturday, Janelle surprised him by showing up at the bookstore with coffee and pastries. I thought, you might need breakfast, she said, finding him covered in sawdust from sanding shelves. His face lit up at the sight of her. This is the best surprise. They sat on drop cloths amid the renovation mess, drinking coffee and talking about his plans for the grand opening. I'd like to offer free reading programs for kids, Nathaniel explained, and maybe partner with the community college for adult literacy classes. You've really thought this through, Janelle said, impressed. I want it to matter, to make a difference, not just make money. As they finished their coffee, Nathaniel hesitated, then asked, would you like to see the apartment upstairs? It was where my parents lived. I'm fixing it up too. Janelle followed him up a narrow staircase to a spacious apartment above the store. Unlike the shop below, the apartment was nearly finished. Freshly painted walls, refinished hardwood floors, and large windows that filled the space with light. It's beautiful, she said, walking from room to room. Are you planning to live here? I'm considering it, Nathaniel replied. My house feels too big, too empty. This place has always felt like home. In the living room, family photos lined the mantel, a much younger Nathaniel with an older couple, all smiling widely. Your parents? Janelle asked, studying the photos. Yes, that was taken the year before my father died. You have his smile, she observed, and your mother's eyes. Nathaniel stood beside her, looking at the photos. They would have liked you. Why? Do you think that? Because you're real. My mother always warned me about people who wear masks. She'd say, Nate, look for the ones who are the same person, whether they're serving or being served. Janelle turned to him. Wise woman. She tried to warn me about Victoria, actually. Said she was playing a part, not living a life. And you didn't listen. I thought Mom was just being overprotective. He sighed. Turns out mothers usually know best. As they continued the tour, Nathaniel showed her a small room he'd set up as an office. I still have some real estate investments to manage, he explained. But I've sold most of the development company to my partners. They were relieved, actually. They never understood why I wanted to build a reading room instead of luxury condos. And why do you? Janelle asked, genuinely curious. Nathaniel leaned against the desk. When I was a kid, this store was my whole world. I saw how it brought the neighborhood together. Kids would come after school to read comics in the corner. Elderly folks would gather to discuss books and share stories. My father would teach young people how to build simple things in his workshop. His eyes grew distant with memory. One summer, a boy named Miguel started coming every day. He didn't talk much, just sat reading for hours. Later, we learned his home situation was bad. Alcoholic dad, absent mum. This store became his safe place. My parents made sure he had lunch, helped with his homework. Years later, he came back, all grown up, a teacher himself. He said this place saved him. That's beautiful, Janelle said softly. That's worth more than any luxury development, Nathaniel replied. I want to create that kind of place again. Looking at him, passionate and purposeful, Janelle felt something shift in her heart. This wasn't the polished businessman putting on a show. This was a man finding his true self, his true purpose. I'd like to help, she said suddenly. If you want. Nathaniel's face brightened. Really? I can't do much with power tools, but I can paint and organize books and maybe help plan those reading programs. I did volunteer at the children's hospital library for a while. That would be amazing, Nathaniel said, his voice warm with gratitude. For the next few weekends, whenever Janelle wasn't working or studying, she joined Nathaniel at the bookstore. They painted walls, arranged furniture, and stocked shelves with books he'd been collecting. They worked side by side, sometimes talking, sometimes in comfortable silence. One Sunday afternoon, as Janelle was organizing the children's section, she looked up to find Nathaniel watching her from across the room, a soft expression on his face. "What?" she asked, self-conscious. "Just thinking how right you look here," he said, "like you belong." The words warmed her from the inside out, but fear still lingered. Belonging was something Janelle had rarely experienced in her life. "I should get going," she said, suddenly needing space to think. "I have an early shift tomorrow. I'll drive you." On the way to her apartment, Nathaniel asked, "Have I said something wrong?" Janelle sighed. "No, it's just, all of this feels like a dream. And dreams end when you wake up." "Not all dreams," Nathaniel said quietly. At her door, he didn't try to come in, just squeezed her hand gently. "Good night, Janelle." She watched him walk away, conflicted. Part of her wanted to call him back, to take a chance on the feelings growing between them. But the cautious part, the part that had been hurt before, held her back. The next morning, Janelle arrived at the hospital for her nursing clinical rotation, with her thoughts still tangled. She was assigned to the pediatric ward, her favorite place to work. Her first patient was a 7-year-old girl named Lily, recovering from appendix surgery. "Good morning, Lily," Janelle said, entering the room with a bright smile. "How are you? Feeling today?" The little girl was pale but managed a small smile. "Better. My tummy doesn't hurt as much." As Janelle checked Lily's vital signs, the girl asked, "Are you sad?" Caught off guard, Janelle looked at her. "Why do you ask that? Your eyes look sad even though you're smiling. Children always saw the truth." "I'm a little confused," Janelle admitted. "Sometimes grown-ups have trouble figuring out what they want." "Like what?" Lily asked, ever curious. "Like whether to take a chance on something that might be wonderful, but also might not work out." Lily considered this seriously. "My daddy says you miss all the shots you don't take. He teaches basketball." Janelle laughed. "Your daddy is very wise." Later that day, during her lunch break, Janelle called her friend Sophia, who had known her since high school. "I need advice," Janelle explained, before telling Sophia everything about Nathaniel. "Let me get this straight," Sophia said when Janelle finished. "Her kind, handsome man who builds cribs for babies wants to create a free reading room for underprivileged kids and looks at you like you hung the moon. This man is interested in you, and you're hesitating." "It's complicated," Janelle protested. "We come from different worlds." "Honey, that's a movie excuse, not a real one. What's really stopping you?" Janelle was quiet for a moment. "What if I'm just convenient? What if I'm just there while he's rebuilding, and once he's whole again, he realizes I don't fit in his real life? Has he given you any reason to think that?" "No," Janelle admitted. "But it's happened before." "Not with him," Sophia pointed out. "You can't punish Nathaniel for other people's mistakes." The words hit home. Janelle had been judging Nathaniel based on her past, not on his actions. "Thanks, Sophia," she said. "I needed to hear that." After her shift, Janelle took the bus to the bookstore. The "coming soon" sign in the window made her smile. Through the glass, she could see Nathaniel helping an older man set up bookshelves. Both men were laughing. She was about to go in when her phone rang. It was the hospital's nursing supervisor. "Janelle, I know you're off today, but we have an emergency. 3 nurses called in sick and we're short-staffed. Could you possibly come in for a night shift? Janelle looked through the window at Nathaniel, then down at her phone. Of course, she said. I'll be there in 30 minutes. She sent Nathaniel a quick text explaining that she couldn't come by after all, then headed back to the hospital. Man, emergency shift turned into one of the longest nights of Janelle's career. A bus accident brought in multiple patients, and the pediatric ward was overwhelmed with injured children. Janelle moved from room to room, checking vitals, administering medications, and comforting frightened kids. Around 2 a.m. she stepped into the break room for a quick cup of coffee and found a surprise waiting for her. A paper bag with her name on it. Inside was a thermos of hot soup, a sandwich, and a note. Thought you might need dinner during your emergency shift. N. Tears sprang to Janelle's eyes. Somehow Nathaniel had found time to bring her food during a crisis. It wasn't grand or flashy, just thoughtful, necessary, real. As she ate the still warm soup, Janelle's phone buzzed with a text from Nathaniel. Don't worry about replying. Just know I'm thinking of you. You're amazing at what you do. Something settled in Janelle's heart. This wasn't someone who saw her as temporary or convenient. This was someone who saw her, really saw her, and cared enough to show up when it mattered. The shift finally ended at 7 a.m. Exhausted, Janelle caught the early bus home. To her surprise, Nathaniel was waiting outside her apartment building, holding 2 cups of coffee. I thought you might need this after your night, he said, offering her a cup. Janelle took it gratefully. How did you know when my shift ended? I called the nurses' station around 6. A nice woman named Brenda told me. You didn't have to come, Janelle said, though she was touched. I wanted to. Nathaniel looked at her tired face. You should get some sleep. I just wanted to make sure. You got home safe. As he turned to leave, Janelle reached out and caught his hand. Thank you for the soup, for the coffee, for caring. Nathaniel squeezed her hand. Always. She took a deep breath. Would you like to come in? Just for a little while. Inside her small apartment, Janelle felt suddenly self-conscious. Her place was neat but simple, nothing like the luxury Nathaniel was used to, but he looked around with genuine interest, noticing the details that made it hers. Nursing textbooks stacked neatly on a desk, a small collection of plants on the windowsill, photos of her mother and friends on the walls. I like your home, he said. It feels like you. It's not much, Janelle said, setting down her coffee. It's real, Nathaniel replied. Like everything about you. They sat on her small sofa, and Janelle found herself talking about the night shift, the bus accident, the children she'd helped care for. Nathaniel listened intently, asking questions, sharing her concern for the patients. You really love what you do, he observed. I do, Janelle agreed. Even on the hardest nights, it feels right. That's how I feel about the bookstore, Nathaniel said. It's hard work, but it feels like what I was meant to do. Janelle looked at him, seeing the sincerity in his eyes. Nathaniel, I need to tell you something. He waited patiently as she gathered her thoughts. I've been holding back because I was afraid, she admitted. Afraid that what's happening between us isn't real or that it won't last. But you keep showing up. You keep being real with me. And I think I'm ready to stop being afraid. Nathaniel's face softened. Janelle, Hart, are you saying you'll give us a chance? I'm saying I'd like to try, she said with a small smile. If the offer's still open. In answer, Nathaniel leaned forward and kissed her. Gently at first, then with growing certainty. When they parted, both were smiling. I should let you get some sleep, he said, standing reluctantly. Will I see you? Tomorrow, Janelle asked. Count on it, Nathaniel promised. After he left, Janelle went to bed with a lighter heart than she'd had in years. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that sometimes unexpected love could be real and lasting. The grand opening of Ward's Books and Community Center was scheduled for a Saturday in late spring. Nathaniel had worked tirelessly to transform the space into something special. Not just a bookstore, but a true community gathering place with comfortable reading nooks, a small computer lab, and the workshop in the back, where he planned to teach woodworking. The night before, The opening, he and Janelle stayed late, making sure everything was perfect. Books were arranged on shelves, fresh flowers brightened every table, and a handmade sign welcomed visitors. "I can't believe it's really happening," Nathaniel said, looking around with pride. "Believe it," Janelle replied, slipping her hand into his. "You've created something wonderful here." Over the past month, their relationship had deepened. Janelle still had moments of doubt, but Nathaniel's consistent presence and genuine care were slowly healing her old wounds. And she had watched him transform too, from the shell-shocked man at the altar to someone purposeful and at peace. "I couldn't have done it without you," he said, pulling her close. "Yes, you could have," Janelle corrected him, "but I'm glad I got to be part of it." As they locked up for the night, Nathaniel seemed nervous, which was unusual for him. "Everything okay?" Janelle asked as they walked to his car. "Better than okay," he said, "just thinking about tomorrow and the future." Instead of driving her straight home, Nathaniel took a detour to the park where they'd had a picnic the previous weekend. The spring night was mild, the park quiet except for distant traffic. "A walk before home," he suggested. They strolled hand in hand along the lamplit path. When they reached a small fountain, Nathaniel stopped. "Janelle, these past few months have been the most real of my life," he began. "When Victoria left me at the altar, I thought my life was over. Now I know it was just beginning." Janelle's heart beat faster as she sensed the seriousness in his tone. "You've shown me what matters," he continued. "Not success as the world defines it, but a life of purpose and genuine connection." He took both her hands in his. "I don't want a big ceremony. I don't need flowers or vows in front of hundreds of people who barely know us. I just want a life with you, simple, real, every day." Janelle's eyes widened as she realized what he was saying. "I'm not asking for an answer now," Nathaniel added quickly. "I know this is soon, but I want you to know that's where my heart is. When you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'm here." Tears filled Janelle's eyes. Not sad tears, but tears of unexpected joy. This man, who could have had anyone, wanted her, not as a temporary comfort, but as a partner for life. "Nathaniel," she began, her voice soft with emotion, but before she could continue, her phone rang loudly. The hospital's ringtone. "I'm sorry," she said, pulling it out to silence it. But the name on the screen made her pause. "It's Dr. Miller, the head of pediatrics. I should take this." Nathaniel nodded, stepping back to give her privacy. "Hello?" Janelle answered. Dr. Miller's voice was urgent. "Janelle, I know you're off duty, but there's been a major emergency. The pediatric floor is overwhelmed. We need every available nurse. Lily, the appendix patient you connected with, is asking for you specifically. Her condition has worsened." Janelle's heart sank. Little Lily. "I'll be right there," she promised. Hanging up, she turned to Nathaniel with regret. "There's an emergency at the hospital. Lily, a little girl I've been caring for, she's taken a turn for the worse. I have to go." "Of course," Nathaniel said without hesitation. "I'll drive you." On the way to the hospital, Janelle's mind raced between worry for Lily and the weight of Nathaniel's words. He had essentially proposed to her, and despite all her previous fears, she found herself wanting to say yes. When they reached the hospital, Nathaniel squeezed her hand. "Go, save lives. We'll talk later." Janelle leaned over and kissed him quickly. "Wait for me. Always," he promised. As she rushed into the emergency chaos of the hospital, Janelle carried a new certainty in her heart. Whatever challenges came, whatever shifts life took, Nathaniel would be there. Not with grand gestures or empty promises, but with steady presence and real love, and that was worth everything. The hospital was in controlled chaos when Janelle arrived. Nurses rushed between rooms, doctors called out orders, and worried family members huddled in corners. She quickly changed into scrubs and reported to the nurses' station. "Thank goodness you're here," said Brenda, the head nurse. "Lily's in room 212. Her appendix incision got infected, and she's running a high fever. She's been asking for you." Janelle hurried to room 212, where she found Lily pale and small in the hospital bed. Her parents stood anxiously nearby, their faces drawn with worry. "Nurse Janelle!" Lily's face brightened slightly when she saw her. "You came." "Of course I did, sweetheart," Janelle said, immediately checking Lily's vital signs. The girl's temperature was dangerously high. "It hurts again," Lily whimpered. "I know, honey, we're going to make it better." Janelle turned to the parents. "Dr. Miller should be here any minute to check on her." For the next several hours, Janelle stayed by Lily's side, as doctors administered antibiotics and worked to bring down her fever. The little girl clung to Janelle's hand, finding comfort in her steady presence. Around midnight, the antibiotics finally began to work. Lily's fever broke, and she fell into a peaceful sleep. Her relieved parents thanked Janelle with tears in their eyes. "You have a special gift," Lily's mother said. "She trusts you completely." "She's a special girl," Janelle replied with a tired smile. It was nearly 2 a.m. when Janelle finally took a break. She headed to the staff lounge for coffee and was surprised to find Nathaniel asleep in one of the waiting room chairs, his jacket rolled up as a makeshift pillow. Gently, she touched his shoulder. "Nathaniel?" He woke instantly, blinking up at her. "Janelle, how's your patient?" "She's going to be okay," Janelle said, moved that he had stayed. "Her fever broke." "But what are you doing here? I thought you'd go home." Nathaniel sat up, rubbing his neck. "I couldn't leave not knowing if you and Lily were okay, and I wanted to be here if you needed me." Looking at him, rumpled, tired but present, Janelle felt the last of her doubts melt away. This was what love looked like. Not grand gestures or perfect timing, but showing up when it mattered. "The bookstore opening is in a few hours," she reminded him. "You should get some rest." "Are you coming?" he asked, standing and stretching. "My shift ends at 7. I'll be there, but I'll need to go home and change first." Nathaniel took her hand. "About what I said earlier in the park, we'll talk about that later," Janelle said gently. "After the opening, after we've both had some sleep." He nodded, understanding. "I'll see you at the store?" "I wouldn't miss it." After he left, Janelle returned to the pediatric floor to check on Lily one more time. The little girl was sleeping peacefully, her color much improved. Janelle adjusted her blanket and whispered, "Sweet dreams, brave girl." By the time her shift ended, Janelle was exhausted but happy. She caught the early bus home, took a quick shower, and changed into a simple blue dress she'd bought for the bookstore opening. Despite her fatigue, excitement bubbled inside her. Today was Nathaniel's big day, the culmination of months of work and a new beginning for him. As she was leaving her apartment, her phone rang. It was Sophia. "Are you on your way to the big opening?" her friend asked. "Just heading out now," Janelle replied. "Well, brace yourself," Sophia warned. "I drove past there on my way to work. There's a crowd already, and I'm pretty sure I saw news vans." "News vans?" Janelle was confused. "Why would there be news vans at a bookstore opening?" "Honey, did you forget who your man is? Nathaniel Ward, one of the city's most eligible bachelors, abandoned at the altar, now opening a community bookstore." "That's a human interest story, Goldmine." Janelle's stomach tightened. She hadn't thought about the public aspect of Nathaniel's life in a long time. To her, he was just Nathaniel, the man who brought her tea, who built cribs for babies, who kissed her like she was precious. But to the rest of the world, he was still Nathaniel Ward, wealthy businessman and society figure. "You okay?" Sophia asked when Janelle didn't respond. "Yes, fine," Janelle said quickly. "I should go. Don't want to be late." As she approached the bookstore, Janelle saw that Sophia was right. A sizable crowd had gathered outside, and there were indeed 2 news vans parked nearby. People dressed far more elegantly than she was milled about, waiting for the doors to open. Suddenly self-conscious in her simple dress, Janelle hesitated a block away. These were Nathaniel's people, the society world he came from. What was she doing here? As doubt crept in, she remembered Lily's words from the hospital. "You miss all the shots you don't take." Taking a deep breath, Janelle walked the final block to the store. The crowd was too thick for her to see through the windows, but the new sign above the door made her smile. Ward's Books and Community Center, with the tagline, "Where everyone belongs" beneath it. She was trying to figure out how to get through the crowd when someone called her name. Turning, she saw Lisa, her goddaughter, approaching with her baby boy in a stroller. "I was hoping I'd find you," Lisa said, hugging Janelle. "I wanted to thank Nathaniel for the crib. That man is a miracle worker. Tommy sleeps through the night in it. He'll be happy to hear that," Janelle said, glancing at the sleeping baby. "But I'm not sure we'll be able to get in. It's packed." "Oh, we're on the list," Lisa said confidently. "Nathaniel called me yesterday and insisted we come. Said something. Did about a special reading corner for babies and toddlers. He wanted Tommy to be the first to try out." Janelle blinked in surprise. Nathaniel had called Lisa. She hadn't even known they had exchanged numbers. Together they approached the entrance where a young woman with a clipboard was checking names. "Lisa Davis and Janelle Hart," Lisa announced. The woman scanned her list, then looked up with a bright smile. "Miss Hart, Mr. Ward has been looking for you. Please come right in, he's in the back workshop." As they entered, Janelle was amazed by the transformation. The once empty store was now a warm, inviting space filled with books, comfortable seating, and people exclaiming over every detail. Children were already settled in the reading nooks, parents watching proudly as they explored the children's section. "This is incredible," Lisa whispered, looking around. "He did all this in just a few months." "With a lot of help," Janelle said, though she felt a surge of pride for Nathaniel's achievement. They made their way through the crowd toward the back of the store. Several people stopped Janelle along the way. Church members, hospital volunteers, even a couple of her nursing professors. Somehow Nathaniel had invited people from every aspect of her life. The workshop at the back had been transformed into a bright, clean space with workbenches, tools, and examples of handcrafted furniture. In the center stood Nathaniel, looking both nervous and excited as he talked with an older man Janelle didn't recognize. When he spotted her, his face lit up. Excusing himself, he crossed the room to her side. "You're here," he said, taking her hands. "Did you think I wouldn't come?" Janelle asked. "I wasn't sure after last night, with the hospital emergency and everything else." His eyes searched hers, looking for an answer to the question he'd asked in the park. Before she could respond, Lisa interrupted. "Nathaniel, the crib is amazing. Tommy loves it." She turned the stroller so he could see the sleeping baby. Nathaniel's face softened at the sight of the child. "He's gotten so big already." He glanced at Janelle. "I hope it's okay that I invited Lisa. I wanted to show her the children's area." "Of course it's okay," Janelle said, touched by his thoughtfulness. As Nathaniel showed Lisa the special reading corner for babies, Janelle watched him interact with her goddaughter and the baby. He was so natural with them, so genuinely interested. It was hard to believe this was the same man who had once been engaged to someone who valued image over substance. The store continued to fill with people. Nathaniel was pulled away for interviews and to greet important guests, but he kept finding his way back to Janelle's side, introducing her to everyone as the woman who made all this possible. "That's not true," she whispered after one such introduction. "This is your achievement." "I wouldn't have had the courage without you," he insisted. "You showed me what mattered." As noon approached, Nathaniel gathered everyone for a short speech. Standing on a small platform, he looked out at the crowd with genuine gratitude. "Thank you all for coming today," he began. "This store has been a dream of mine for a long time, though I didn't always know it. My parents created something special here, not just a place to buy books, but a place to belong. That's what I hope to continue." He paused, his eyes finding Janelle in the crowd. "The past year has taught me a lot about what really matters in life. It's not wealth or status or appearances, it's community, purpose, and love, the kind that shows up day after day in small moments that build into a life." Janelle felt tears prickling her eyes as Nathaniel continued. "This center is dedicated to my parents, who taught me the value of books and building things that last. But it's also dedicated to the future, to the children who will find their first favorite stories here, to the teens who will learn to build with their hands, to the adults who will find connection in our book clubs and workshops." He stepped down from the platform to applause, making his way directly to Janelle. Taking her hand, he whispered, "Can I steal you away for a minute?" She nodded, and he led her up the back stairs to the apartment above the store. Unlike the bustling shop below, the apartment was quiet and peaceful. Sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the simple, beautiful space. "I wanted a moment alone with you before the madness continues," Nathaniel explained, still holding her hand. "Did you notice who's here today?" "It seems like everyone we know," Janelle said with a smile. "Exactly. People from my world and yours, business associates and hospital workers, church members and community leaders, all together, celebrating. Something real." He took both her hands in his. "Last night, before we were interrupted, I was trying to tell you that I don't need a big ceremony or public display. That's not who I am anymore. Maybe it never was. What I do need is you, Janelle. Your kindness, your honesty, your way of seeing the truth in people and situations." "Nathaniel," Janelle began, but he gently continued, "I'm not asking for an answer now. I know this is fast, and you have every reason to be cautious. I just want you to know that whenever you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'll be here. No pressure, no timeline." Janelle looked into his eyes and saw only sincerity. This man had been left at the altar in front of hundreds of people, yet here he was risking his heart again. With her, a part-time maid and nursing student who had cleaned up the flowers at his non-wedding, life was strange and beautiful. "Actually," she said, softly, "I do have an answer." Nathaniel's breath caught. "You do?" "Yes." She took a deep breath. "I don't want a big ceremony either. I don't need flowers or fancy vows. I just want a life together. Simple, real, building something that matters, side by side." Joy dawned on Nathaniel's face. "Is that a yes?" "It's a yes," Janelle confirmed, her heart full. "Not right away. I'd like to finish nursing school first, but yes, Nathaniel Ward, I want to build a life with you." He pulled her close, his kiss full of promise and certainty. When they parted, both were smiling through tears. "We should get back to the opening," Janelle said, though she didn't move away from him. "They can wait one more minute," Nathaniel murmured, holding her close. In that quiet moment above the busy bookstore, they both felt the rightness of what they'd found together. Not a fairy tale or society match, but something better. A love built from honesty, grown through hardship, and strengthened by shared purpose. 1 year later, on the anniversary of the day Nathaniel was left at the altar, he and Janelle returned to the cathedral. There was no audience this time, no flowers or music. Just the two of them, standing quietly in the aisle where his first wedding was supposed to have taken place. Janelle wore a simple blue dress, not white, not a gown. Nathaniel wore a suit, but no tie. They held hands as sunlight streamed through, the stained glass windows casting colorful patterns on the floor. "Strange to be back here," Nathaniel said, looking around. "A year ago, this felt like the worst day of my life." "And now?" Janelle asked. "Now I know it was the beginning of the best part of my life." He squeezed her hand. "Are you sure about this? We could have gone to the courthouse like we planned." "I'm sure," Janelle said. "This feels right, coming full circle." From his pocket, Nathaniel took out a simple gold band. Not a diamond, not elaborate. Just a circle of gold promising continuity. "No speeches," he said softly. "No promises I can't keep. Just this, me, today. Every day I can." Janelle held out her hand, and he slipped the ring onto her finger. "And me," she replied. "Today. Every day I can." They kissed in the empty church, sealing their private vows with no witnesses except the sun through the windows. As they walked out together, Janelle's phone rang. She glanced at it. The hospital. "You need to take it?" Nathaniel asked, understanding in his eyes. Janelle looked at the phone, then at her new husband. "They can leave a message. Right now, I'm where I need to be." Hand in hand, they walked out of the cathedral where they had first met amid abandoned flowers and broken dreams. Behind them, the heavy doors swung shut. Ahead of them stretched a future they would build together. Not perfect, but real. And in that reality lay all the magic they would ever need. The end.